Welcome to our second conversation this week in the conversation around connecting to ourselves, which is actually just the title of today, but it's about the business of self as an overall subject. My name is Raditya Lazary. I'm from Mindful Being, and I'll be talking with Swati Hatki from Heartfelt Ayurveda. And she'll be joining us shortly. But until she's here, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit more about what today will bring this current conversation. And if you can't hear me, let me know. If you can, great. So, and I hope it's all going to work out well. As you can see, I am outside, and I had a debate. Do I rush home and make it in time, or am I just going to find a place between where I was and where I'm heading to be here in a more relaxed state of mind? And I decided to take the second option. And so this is how life goes. Sometimes we want to pressure ourselves to follow through with certain things people expect of us. We are so pressured by how society is describing how life is supposed to be, how reality is playing itself out. And then there is you. There is you playing an incredible important role in how do we show up in our lives. And so this is really what these conversations are here to do, is for you to get a different idea and relationship to who you actually are, because oftentimes we don't have time to really dive into who am I. And it's actually a funny story. When I first met my partner, my spouse that I've been with for 20 years, and it probably happened about 20 years ago in November, where I first met him. And I'm from Switzerland. So in Switzerland, you can just walk into offices. Nobody has to show ID or whatever. You just say, hello, I'm here to see XYZ. Well, that wasn't the truth coming here to the States. There is a huge building. This person that I wanted to see is somewhere in this building, and I had no idea how to deliver a message. And I wanted to say something, so I wrote a message, and I didn't want to tell him that it was me, so I just wrote, who am I? But I ended up giving it to him in person because it was way too complicated. But that question of who am I remained my mission. It's been this question and quest to really figure out who am I on this journey. And this is really what this business of self is a reflection of. And yesterday we talked with Eva, and we really dived right away into loneliness. We dived into how do we see ourselves. We dived into different aspects on how it shows up in connection to other people. And she brought up like how to see even strangers as part of making connections in our everyday. And so today with Swati, we're going to extend this perspective of who am I, connecting to ourselves, connecting to other people, how other people impact me in my life, and really continue this quest and journey of not knowing who we actually are, because there are so many facets on who we are, right? There is this aspect of work that we are a certain person. Then there is this part of us in relationship to our parents or caretaker that puts us in a different light. And then there is friendships. And then there are our parents as, you know, the people that brought us into this planet that we might have a great relationship with and maybe a distant relationship. And all these parts play a huge role on how we live our lives today in this particular moment. And being out here right now, being in nature, is really this other part that allows us to connect to ourselves. And for those who are watching, who join some of my in-person events, you know how important nature can become when we spend a little bit more contemplative time in nature. And I found it so perfect that today I am outside, especially with Swati today. So I'm sure she could add some more additions to how nature plays a role in her life, and especially this connection between me, my life, the people around me, and how I want to show up. And additional to these conversations that we're having. Later on, I'll be talking to Lisa at 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is, I think, about, so what do we have, 10:30, so that's about 5 hours from now, or a little less. Anyway, I'm not going to do math right now. And so it really is a continuation. Why I'm talking about the same subject with 5 different people is for you to figure out which one can you resonate more. And maybe you don't resonate with other people and you're like, but this is interesting. And that's where these conversations can really cause us to have a different impact on our lives, where our curiosity is being ignited, where we're becoming interested in let's see if she can come in. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. Happy fall.
Happy fall. Well, welcome. So I'm so happy to have you here today. I already discussed a little bit on what we discussed yesterday, what I would like to talk about today. If you haven't seen it, the title of today's conversation is Connecting to Ourselves. I am outside. I can see some nature in the background of you. And so I just jumped right in. Obviously, you have no idea what I was just relating to and conversating about, what this session can be about. But what I really want you to just jump right in is just to tell us a little bit about you, about Heartfelt Ayurveda, about this journey that you've been on, and without even going deep into it, but just like a brief explanation.
Sure. So, namaste. My name is Swati Rohatgi, and I founded Heartfelt Ayurveda about 2 years ago. And I was a new mom in 2016. Been through some postpartum difficulties, and I was heavily medicated and treated for that. Kind of realized in a few years that medicine was more like a band-aid on what I was going through, and I could probably connect. I was trying to find ways to connect to myself and you know connect to others around me. And I just, Ayurveda, it was like meant to be. Like Ayurveda came to me, and I enrolled myself in the Ayurvedic school. So COVID was well spent studying Ayurveda for a year and a half, and I graduated as an Ayurvedic wellness counselor. And here I am. And then, one thing leads to the other. So my heart was always set on teas, but I wanted to do something meaningful with that. So I have an Etsy tea shop where I do hand blended teas and tisanes based on mindfulness and Ayurvedic principles.
Wonderful. And I can only say right here that I've purchased plenty of her teas as giveaways and also for myself. They are delicious, they are amazing, they are just perfectly made, and you can smell and just feel the heart that you're putting into this. So I just want to
Thank
give
you.
a shout out for people who are watching. Just check it out. It's on Etsy, and yeah, I think it's under Heartfelt Ayurveda,
Hmm.
and you can find her teas right there. So the holidays are coming up, so just make sure you check it out. And I also want to add to the connection that we have to each other, because one of the main reasons that popped into my head just when we were talking the other day, it's just like how, like, why you popped up. I mean, we met on an online program, and we had these calls, and some, there's, I don't know if it was thousands, but there were a lot of people, right? But
Yes.
what really stuck out of me that from you is just this determination of just wanting to know. You are someone who is chasing answers and wants to make sure that I am not leaving anything out. And you are very, very determined to make sure that the people around you are being served. And obviously that is serving you as well. My question here, and obviously we're going right into this because we want to make the best of our time together,
Mm-hmm.
is how has this been challenging for you to balance the two things between caring for other people and making sure that they're being served while taking care of yourself, especially as you are talking about bringing heartfelt Ayurveda to life?
Right. No, thank you for that question. I have been constantly battling some mental health challenges and, life situations, unexpected life situations. But there are parts of me I've come to realize that are, it's like Harumi states, the light enters where the crack is. So, um, when the parts that hurt, the wounds are, I've come to realize, are a reflection of where the healing needs to be. And, you know, uh, the way I think like when I serve people or when I think of people, I, I, I also started to realize that I'm only thinking of people and not myself. And it just dawned on me yesterday. I am 36 now. After 36 years, it dawned on me that where am I in the picture? And effort on my part to rephrase, like, how will this serve me and how can I make this better for everyone else? Because it is true. I mean, that simple saying, it's so profound. You can pour from an empty cup. So if sometimes self-care looks like saying no and setting boundaries and getting people disappointed, that's okay. I think because that's where it is true service.
Yeah, and I think also if I'm listening to you now, and obviously I have a little bit more back information and many people that are watching here, but what I'm also feeling is that sometimes taking care of ourselves can be more challenging because there is this discomfort that is coming up. There is these, sometimes I even feel for myself, there is some sort of confusion, right? And I was
Yes.
just saying actually in the introduction, it's like we we're on this quest of figuring out who we are,
Mhm.
right? Like I brought up this theme of who am I, and the interesting thing is really to keep on this quest and not, and we talked about this yesterday with Eva as well, it's like there is, the end is the end of our lives, meaning anything between now and the end of our lives is where we can find ourselves, meaning what you just described is like, yes, I want to give more, and yet how can I take care of myself? And I think this is an ongoing challenge that we all are finding ourselves, especially as mothers, especially of
Yes.
caretakers of other people, where they
Yes.
are depending on us, right? And so how do you feel about your personal, like, we both have a business, we're taking care of other people, we want to make other people aware of simple ways of living a life that brings us happiness and joy, but then we go into our own lives and we're like, okay, well, it's great I know all these things. Now, what I'm going to do with myself.
Mhm. Oh, okay. So, I just hear two things from this reflection you've, thrown out. One is I think we are kind of asking why, or well, not why, but like how people are having a difficult time receiving this message. And I think one is people are impatient these days. There's no instant fix. A self-reflection and understanding life and understanding who am I, what's my purpose takes time and effort and patience, and we don't have that. And as soon as things get challenging, or no, what, not challenging, unknown, the unknown, that makes people very, very uncomfortable. There are very few people who are coming with a beginner's mind, with a child's curiosity mind, like, hey, what is that? What does that feel like? What can I do with that? How do I play with it? How can I friend it? It's more like, ugh, that's unknown. I don't want to. I don't want to dive into that. I have better things to handle. So, the evolution gets very stagnant there, I feel. Um, and Radhika, can you help me with the second thing you were reflecting?
Well, yes, I think the second thing is really about, how do I bring this awareness to myself? Like, how do I help myself with this, right? And like being, like you said before, like sometimes I have to say no, right?
Hmm.
Like, but how can I think we can just continue with what you just said,
Sure,
like
sure.
befriending myself with this not knowing, right? And so I think it's just for you to like elaborate on this discomfort, because I feel like a lot of our conversations outside of here are really about like, okay, how can I be okay with this discomfort, you know
Right. Yes, yes. And I think I'm also starting to realize when I just leave it to the mind runs in all directions. It sometimes it's not very helpful, and it's good to then return to the body, which is in the present. So practices like Tai Chi and mindfulness, and it doesn't have to look like a meditation sitting on a cushion. Even walking is meditation, even swimming is meditation. Just movement to, I've learned from the practice of Tai Chi and yoga that when the emotion is very hard and difficult to handle or it's confusing us, it's good to move the body because the emotion moves and the
Mm.
energy moves, and it might bring about other things that are making it stagnant and pulling us in a dark place. So it's get to good to move, get that moving, and then if hopefully if you're in a healthier state, we can process that well and release it in healthy ways. So I definitely think, like the active lifestyle and self-awareness that, okay, well, this is happening right now. What do I do with it, even if it's taking 5 deep breaths or, just jogging on the spot or something to calm that down. To I think protection and safety is a human survival instinct, to make myself feel I am safe and I have done everything to protect myself and we're okay.
And I love you just said this, because that was one of the things that I was pointing at yesterday as well. Is like, this is our instinct that is gearing us towards safety.
Uh-huh.
Everything we do, everything in our lives that we either do or don't do, is to prevent us from
Mhm.
danger. And so whatever it takes, right? And I was just thinking, like, how about your teas, drinking teas, right? Like, that I love. I mean, this is my thing. I don't have my tea today, and so here I am. Usually on my lives, I do have a sip of tea. But I think what I also hear you say is just like, you don't need to go far out of your way. Like, look right where you are. And I say this all the time. It's like, don't create new habits. Don't buy new programs. Don't go out and
Mhm.
do some crazy stuff. Use what's already available to you. Like I was saying about nature. And I want
Mhm.
you to also share with us how nature has impacted you. Because I know I mean, you've been on my summits. Eva, who just
Yes.
joined us, has been on my summit, and it's always been like nature for all of us. Anyone who's on this call is really like a center focus. So I want to hear from you. What is like nature to you, and how like this immediate access can help us with?
Sure. Like, feeling low, don't know what to do, feeling stagnant, just step out because that's free and that's right there. So instead of getting swallowed in those feelings, open the door, step out. This is what I do. Right now it's difficult, but you can see I opened that window here, and it's 40 degrees here, so I'm trying to avoid that till it warms up. But just bringing in fresh air every day. I think a lot of our homes are filled with stagnant air, and I strongly believe that that is, I think what we breathe and eat makes our thoughts. So this is healthy, fresh air, stepping out, soaking the sun, and also kind of watching what we're eating, avoiding processed canned foods, frozen foods. They don't have the life energy that we need. And trying to cook more in the kitchen, simple meals. I always say, I'm like, if there's nothing available to eat, I'll just eat a banana for dinner and sleep, but I will not open packets or snacks. And, you know, I mean, that's not a meal, that's a snack.
Nice differentiation here. I like that you pointed out the difference between an actual meal versus a snack. I should
Yes.
teach that my son, because he doesn't seem to understand. He just says like, I'm hungry. But no, actually, you just want a snack.
Yes.
You're not hungry. The day
Yeah.
I offer you a meal, you would say no. So, okay, we're not hungry.
Right. Right. Yeah, and then there's these levels of hunger and why we feel we're hungry, and things like that. But also, I've also seen a lot of people don't hydrate well, and then you think I'm hungry, but actually you're thirsty. So
Oh.
it's also good to keep a decent water intake of 6 to 8 glasses per day. And this is the fall season. Ayurveda says drink warm water, add your spices to it, flavor your water with spices, drink teas. And by tea, I don't mean caffeine. There are plenty of options, caffeine free, on my shop or anywhere else you would like to go and check it out. Yeah, I mean, I just think, seasons are there so that we can explore the different flavors and also understand what nature's trying to tell us. And that's why there's this whole concept of seasonal vegetables, which is fading away because everything's available all the time now. So it's really we are confusing ourselves.
I love what you're saying, because if I think about, connecting to ourselves, literally what we're here to what we're talking about is connecting to nature, because we are nature. And
Mhm.
so if we're doing more things that are actually already present, that is not created through us humans, right? Like tangible things that like that. I mean, the rocks are tangible. So, but like natural things, right? And figuring out how they make us feel. And like even now, I mean, I'm outside, it's a little fresh, and not to get too afraid of coolness, because it
Mhm.
is a healthy things for our bodies. Okay, don't get frozen, right? But again, I think what I'm really sensing here also in our conversation is this: connecting to ourselves is not a complicated thing. And it also is
Right.
what we talked about yesterday with Eva. It's like, it's really simple. And I think this is really, everyone that's going to talk here is like, anything we can do, all it requires us is to think. I want to say outside the box, but if I think clearly, it's actually inside the box, because it's us inside of it, right? And so this is really what's interesting, that what we think we have to do is already here. And I say this all the time. I probably said it yesterday as well. It's like, we just forget that what we need is already here
And in us, within
and in
us.
us. Yeah, that exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like we are a complete mind body system and very much aligned with the universe. We just keep moving away from that and then we suffer. The more
Yeah.
we
Do
move away from
you
that, the
want to
more we
add?
suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to gather some words. Like, why don't you pick it up from here
All
and
right.
I'll
Yeah,
chime in.
no, it's great. I think it's what I've really found interesting, when I'm thinking about these conversations, right? And I feel like when I'm thinking about general conversations, all we are doing is just repeating the things that we are needing to do or haven't done yet, like, and all the things that are not complete and finished. And I remember the ending of Eva's conversation yesterday was like, it's better
Mhm.
finished than done than perfect, right? So meaning,
Yes.
let's just get over it. We're not finishing it. Maybe we can't finish it. And it's okay, because even unfinished businesses are still imperfect, but it's still okay. And I think if we look into nature, I really see how, if we are using that knowledge that's already existent in nature, for example, then we recognize that perfection is actually not a thing,
It's an
right? And I was
illusion.
saying,
It's an
it's an
illusion.
illusion. There you go. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes, definitely. And like when I ask a lot of my clients or people, hey, do you connect with yourself every day? What are the ways? Sometimes I hear like, okay, I pray, or things like that. And then I have to like dive in and always explain that praying is when you're asking for something,
Mm,
and
mm.
meditation is when you're receiving. And I think that's very important. Unfortunately, people view meditation as sitting on the pillow, cross-legged, and I'm like, no, that's not meditation. Actually, what your service is meditation, I think. What can you do for yourself and for others? That is meditation. And when you do that are you aligned in your mind, body, and spirit?
Mm.
And your gut will let you know if you are.
Yeah, yeah, I love you brought this in because just the other day I had this subject in the meditation about giving and receiving. There's a lot of people that have an ease of giving. There's
Mhm.
a lot of people that have ease of receiving. And it's sometimes hard for one or the other to do the opposite. And actually, tomorrow's meditation conversation is about this. It's like, okay, what this special connection that happens between people when I'm changing that aspect. Like if I'm a giver and I start the ability to receive,
Mhm.
something special happens between the two of us, right? Because
Mhm.
all of a sudden the energy is shifting. And
Right.
so obviously this is just the beginning of a conversation. We need to continue on this giving and receiving, which actually is funny because I was I don't know if people are believing in pulling cards, but I was doing this with Lisa the other week, and the card that we pulled in connection to the session was exchanging
Uh-huh.
gifts. And this is
Oh,
what we're really
beautiful.
doing here with each other,
Yes.
with anyone, Eva yesterday, with you today, Lisa, Diana, Maria. All we're doing here is exchanging gifts. And by exchanging gifts means I'm giving you something while
Mhm.
I'm receiving something from you, and you
Mhm.
get both of it as well. And I think this is really what it comes down to, is that we need to start practicing both, to give and to
Absolutely.
receive.
And to
Yeah.
receive. Absolutely. I think this whole commercial aspect of, oh, holidays are the time for giving should be changed to exchange of gifts, I think. Holidays are
Nice.
time for
Yes.
exchange of gifts and
Great
that energy.
idea.
Yes. And I think same applies to everything. I am tired of witnessing and hearing the black and white thinking. And I think it's time to step into the shades of gray. And because that's where real life is. Black and white is like, they're like children of a mere drawing. The shades of gray is the picture.
That's
And
beautiful. Yes.
yeah, I think I will recommend a poem. It's called Involuntary, and it's on YouTube. It's by this actor and poet called Jim Shargill, I think, or Jim Sarab, sorry, Jim Sarab. It's an Indian actor, JIM, and it's on his YouTube channel, and I loved it. I was able to connect with it very well. It's called Involuntary, so watch it.
All
And
right. Yes. We can put that in the
yeah.
comments after I post this video. And, additional to this black and white, right? Like, I'm just thinking about this conversation right now. Your video is not coming in clearly all the time, but there was no point for me to mention this because it would take away your attention on, like, oh my God, let me get this fixed and like that. And we wouldn't actually talk about anything because at the end of the day, we can hear each other. This is all that matters. But it's really to get out of our heads, to
Hmm.
not be disturbed by our external content, but to really like chime in to our senses. Because if I just close my eyes, the video is not bothering me. If I just
Right.
start listening, because this is why we're here, right? We can start hearing things that we maybe wouldn't hear because we are just looking and so distracted by what I'm seeing. And so this
Hmm.
really takes me back to the beginning of our conversation in regards to like chiming in and like sensing what's going on in your body that is not like this black and white. To me is like a brain focus on the external world, something that has been represented by society to be reality, when in fact if we're tuning into ourselves, all those things don't matter as much.
Yes, absolutely. I agree, and I just I can sense and feel, and I think that's where when I go to Tai Chi, that's what they talk about coexistence all the time, and they feel like and they strongly believe that one person, one energy shift can influence so many. And you can imagine when we all vibrate at those higher energies, what a world can be such a beautiful place. We need to support each other. We don't need to we don't need the feedback and the criticism. We need the support.
This is exactly why we are here together. Is there anything else that you need to get off your chest that you want to share with us that we have to take into our day today?
Just one little practice. What can you do today for yourself that can be an affirmation towards positivity and growth? What can you tell yourself today? And what can you tell maybe your spouse or your child or your friend today that can make them feel better about themselves, even if you feel they're wrong or they are they're not on the right path? What can make them feel better about themselves, and what can you tell yourself that can make you feel better about yourself? So two things.
I love it. I love it because that is the connection to ourselves as well as connecting to other people. And that's the giving and receiving of these gifts that we can do that don't require any money, that all it takes is that heartfelt heart that we all have. And we just have to let it
Yes.
out. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Swati, for being here with me today. And we'll see when we come back together next time.
Thank you, Raditya. By the way, I love your backdrop and
Oh,
where you are. And I could hear it was it the ducks or the geese, not sure.
I think it's actually crows. They're making really interesting conversations, but maybe it's also the ducks. I mean, there's a bunch of different animals out here. I have no idea, but this is exactly what it is. You know, I saw a crow the other day eating a chipmunk, I think. And you know, if we're looking at nature, nature is cruel. So if we see cruelness in humanity, it is not far-fetched from nature. So we just have to dive it down a little bit and just lead with heart, because we got a little bit extra here. We have the capacity of more love. So
Yes.
as much as nature can be our guide, we have also something extra to support each other here. So yes, I love that. And thanks for noticing my nice background.
The gift of being human.
That's right, the gift of being human. This is really, I mean, I just want to say one last thing. I think we underestimate the capacity of goodness that humans can do with this brain that we have, but we need and utterly need to connect to this whole body, because otherwise we're leading with only a fraction of what there is. So yeah, please do these good things that Swati suggested you to do, that are extremely simple, because that will change the world.
Thank you, Radhika. Thank you for this heartfelt conversation.
Thank you so much, Swati, and everyone who was watching. Thank you
Yes.
so much for being here. Come back
Thank
at
you,
2
everyone.
p.m. Eastern Time with Lisa. Until next time.
Have a beautiful day. Bye.